Daniel Jeremiah, my compadre from NFL Network, back here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, DJ?
I'm doing great, Rich. How you doing, man?
I'm doing fine. What did both teams put on film last night you think that scouts are going to take away from last night's game?
Well, look, first of all, some bright colors, some vivid colors. Very much so. But,
you're not colorblind, are you, DJ? Because we heard about that last night.
No. I saw those images, though. That kind of freaked me out when I saw that. That would be kind of a crazy way to watch a football game.
Mm-hmm.
Look, when I saw it, I saw two teams with dominant defensive lines, and I thought they're really almost mirror images of each other. I just thought the whole difference in the game is you had the interceptions, the turnovers for the Jets, and then really, I don't know how much you've got into this, but I mean, just kind of, I'm sure it's been talked about, but take the field goals when you have the opportunities there. And then I thought the Jets should have gone for two after that touchdown, so they kind of end up trying to chase some points after that decision.
Yeah, well, I mean, the idea that they went for it, though, at the end of the game, when you just need to get a 3-yard conversion for a touchdown or even a 2-yard conversion for a first down, and your defense has been balling out, so even if you don't get it, you've got the Bills penned in with 3 timeouts left. That one I didn't have a problem with. Not going for 2, was a little bit of a head-scratcher.
Yeah, that one to me, and that's what would have set them in a different course of action from there going forward. But I mean, really, when you look at it, both teams were able to run the ball a little bit. Both fronts were able to get after the quarterback, and to me, it was just the turnovers. And I thought, really, the key to the game, was just after the dropped punt, after he put the ball on the ground and got tackled. Although you could tell he did learn from Michigan State in the Michigan game.
Yeah, go down.
To Rich.
No, it's okay.
Down. You had a chance to live another day, and it ended up holding him right there. That was the whole ball game.
Daniel Jeremiah, Appalachian State's Daniel Jeremiah, sticking it to me here on the Rich Eisen Show. So this weekend in college football, which one leaps out at you? Is it Oklahoma-Baylor, the one that's on ABC with Fowler?
That's a big one, but no question. I mean, that's the one everybody's going to focus on when you have two highly ranked teams like that. Baylor minus their quarterback. Look, the guy Stidham just jumped right in there and didn't seem to skip a beat, which I always look at things from an evaluator standpoint, Rich, which scares the crud out of me for quarterbacks coming out of these systems now, where it's like, okay, you get enamored. Russell's putting up these numbers, and it's so impressive, and then, oh, my gosh, he's hurt. What do they do? You just plug the next guy in, and he throws for 400 yards. I mean, that to me scares me a little bit when you're evaluating quarterbacks coming out of these systems. But that's going to be a big game to watch. I'll tell you what's a game nobody's talking about, which traditionally is a game that is a college game day atmosphere and one of the biggest games of the year is Stanford-Oregon. I know Oregon's been down, but you get your quarterback back healthy. That's a dangerous game for Stanford.
Mm-hmm.
So those two I'm curious. But I want to get to one thing, Rich, because you teased it before I came on that, some names for the draft that maybe we're not talking about.
Go for it.
Can I give you a November 13th name that is just way off the radar that we're going to be talking a ton about come draft?
Please.
Miles Killebrew, strong safety, Southern Utah. Is that a great name for it? If your name's Killebrew and you're a strong safety, he's almost 6'2". He's 227 pounds. They timed him at 4.45 in the spring. And I watched him. I had a bunch of people tell me about him, so I started watching him. He hits anything that moves. He's got a chance to be a first-round pick coming up in this next draft. So Miles Killebrew, there's one off the radar for you.
What do you think of Derrick Henry? I mean, that is a big dude coming downhill for Alabama right now. Is he the top running back on the board, you think?
Well, I don't think so, and we got to see who all ends up coming out. I mean, Zeke Elliott is a pretty talented guy at Ohio State. We've got a pretty decent crop of running backs again this year. The thing about Henry is, to me, he's like, everybody thinks of Brandon Jacobs at the end of his career, but Brandon Jacobs, those first couple of years in New York, he could roll, and they are about the same size. I mean, just mammoth running backs. I want to say Brandon Jacobs ran mid to low 4.5s coming out. I think you'll probably see the same thing from Henry. It looked at Brandon Jacobs had a pretty good run.
So, but what about the concept of a stigma? You right, with running backs out of a certain system or quarterbacks out of a certain system. You mentioned that about how you're leery about maybe Baylor quarterbacks. What about Alabama running backs, DJ?
Well, I think you've got Ingram, who's been solid. I don't think he necessarily has lived up to where he was selected, but he's been solid. And then T.J. Yeldon is off to a good start down there in Jacksonville. I think obviously Trent Richardson, we know the story there. And then to me, when you look at what's going on with Eddie Lacy, I don't know, that's a system issue or a broken down issue. That looks like a diet issue.
Daniel Jeremiah telling it like it is here on the Rich Eisen Show. What about Memphis quarterback Paxton Lynch? What have you seen out of him so far? As Memphis is taking on Houston after that first loss of the season to Navy. DJ, what about that?
He's a fun one to watch. I've watched a couple games on him now. I got a lot more work to do on him, but I mean, he's almost 6'7". I think he's 6'6" and change, so it kind of puts him in that Joe Flacco size, Brock Osweiler type size. Good athlete, can move around. He's got he's got a lot of wins under his belt. He's got a lot of production. He's got really good arm strength, and you want to see a guy like that. He's at Memphis. I know they're a top 25 team, but with the schedule, you want to see how he does in their big games. And against Ole Miss, which is as big as it gets for them on their schedule, he was outstanding. So he's definitely somebody that's going to be intriguing to follow. All these other quarterbacks in this group that could potentially come out have just been so up and down, and you don't know what you're going to get. I went and saw Law's guy, Christian Hackenberg, last week, and he's raw. We'll see what he decides to do. He struggled a little bit. You've got Connor Cook, who's under 60% of the passer, which is a warning sign. You've got Cardale Jones, who got benched. You got Jared Goff, who was off to a great start. Then he starts turning the ball over 5 times against Utah, struggles against USC. So all these guys have their warts, and that's why a guy like Paxton Lynch is kind of coming up the ranks.
Now, I'm with Daniel Jeremiah at Move the Sticks here on the Rich Eisen Show. You know the phrase, I don't have a crystal ball. That's what coaches like to say, but bust out your crystal ball here, Daniel. A Big 12 undefeated team leapfrogs a one-loss Notre Dame team, yes or no, for the right to play in the playoffs?
Man, I'll tell you what, like Oklahoma, I think Oklahoma's next 3 games are against all these top teams, right? They play this week it's Baylor, then TCU, and I think Oklahoma State. That's going to get a chance to get a lot of momentum for them. But then you've got Notre Dame with a chance to get Stanford. And, man, I just have a hard time thinking that Notre Dame, if they're with a loss, which was a close one at the number 1 team, that they would be left out. I think I would end up saying Notre Dame ends up getting the nod.
So an undefeated Oklahoma State or Baylor team sits on the outside looking in.
Undefeated. Undefeated. No. If it's undefeated, if those teams are undefeated, because they all have the meat of their schedule coming up.
Correct.
I think that the Big 12 team would get in. I thought you were saying like if there was a one-losser.
No.
I think anytime there's a tie with a loss, unless it's Alabama, Notre Dame's going to get the nod.
So Notre Dame's in right now, but a Big 12 team that emerges undefeated, and there's no Big 12 conference championship either. You think that if Notre Dame wins out and say Oklahoma State or Baylor wins out, they leapfrog Notre Dame?
I would think so, just because they still have some meat on the bone in their schedule.
Lastly, crystal ball the Big Ten for me here. What happens? Iowa against who? And should Iowa win that game, do they make the playoffs undefeated? What do you think?
I kind of almost hope that Iowa, ends up. So I think it'll be Ohio State, but I almost kind of hope Iowa ends up winning it, and then just so we can go, okay, Iowa's in the playoffs. Does anybody know anything about them? Has anybody watched them?
Great question. You tell me.
I haven't watched more than 5 minutes of an Iowa game this year.
They're number 5. They're 5th.
I know it.
They're 5th right now, and so Michigan does not beat Ohio State. You say in the Big House.
I think it's a great game. And I think this is going to be a great rivalry. But I think right now, roster-wise, Ohio State's just much better.
And Ohio State comes into that game over a win over Michigan State, in your estimation.
I think so.
Okay,
yes.
So then Ohio State takes on Iowa, and then Iowa wins that game. You think they would take the spot of Ohio State's in the playoffs?
I think if they beat them,
how could they not? Right? How could they not?
I would think they. Yeah. How do you not? I know one thing. I'll be scrambling to watch a lot of Iowa tape.
Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate it. We'll chat down the road.
Miles Killebrew, Rich. Miles Killebrew.
Miles Killebrew. No relation to Harmon, right? Do we know?
I need to do some homework.
Please, Daniel, get on that. That's DJ at Move the Sticks.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.